Hey there, I'm here today to talk to you about Medicare. I'm the Medicare lady. So, the difference between Medicare and Medicaid, a lot of people initially are confused. So, just for anyone that's tuning in for Medicaid, let's set the record straight. Medicaid, think financial aid. Medicaid is financial aid to help you with medical bills. Medicare is what cares for you when you've been on disability for longer than 2 years, or what's typical is when you've turned 65. So, when you've turned 65 or you've been on disability longer than 2 years, you become eligible for Medicare Part A and Part B. Typically, I'm giving you the typical normal example. Of course, there's other situations that may or may not come up. So let's go with the usual. You turn 65 and suddenly now you're no longer on employer coverage. You're eligible for something that is called Medicare that's going to care for you now with Hospital Part A and Medical Part B, right? That's what it does. What is Hospital Part A? Hospital Part A is going to help you when you go to the hospital. It has a $1,340 deductible. May sound obvious, but a lot of people don't really think about it that deeply and realize that you don't really want a $1,340 deductible the day you set foot in a hospital, and then after that, 20% coinsurance. Because there's also Part B. Part B is medical. That's for doctors and specialists. There's a $183 deductible, and that's once a year. After that, you owe 20% coinsurance. So that's what you have when you walk around with Medicare, the red, white, and blue card, Part A and Part B. Now, for some folks, they may think, well, 20% coinsurance, that doesn't sound too bad. Actually, 20% coinsurance of a $100 doctor bill is not that bad, right? But 20% of $100,000 in doctor bills and such, now we're talking that's a lot more money. So be thinking about that when you have your Medicare red, white, and blue card and you're new to Medicare, of the kind of insurance you want to get to help you pick up the parts that Medicare doesn't. The easiest way to think of Medicare is that it's essentially an 80-20 plan with those minimal deductibles. The deductible is what you need to meet first before the rest of Medicare kicks in. And when it does kick in, it's 20% of whatever your hospital medical bills add up to. That's where people are getting into trouble, and that's why you want to get some sort of Medicare insurance to help you pick up the rest. There's also Part D. Now, this always kind of sounded confusing to me because what is Part D? I just think Part D is in drugs. Part D is in drugs. What that means is that you want something that Medicare recognizes is credible drug coverage. They don't care if you get the credible drug coverage through the VA or through TRICARE, retired military. You may even get it through an employer that's ongoing. That's fine, as long as it's credible. A good discount card is not credible drug coverage. There are penalties that you may accrue for every month that you don't have credible drug coverage, or in other words, Part D. So you want to avoid those penalties because they may not go away unless you get a low-income subsidy. I know, everything I say there's, and then there's this, right? So when you're with Medicare, Part A and Part B, think about how you've got Part A hospital, Part B medical. The problem is, what am I going to do to pick up the deductibles to cover my 20% coinsurance, as well as provide me with Part D as in drugs, right? What are you going to do? So that's where you come up with a plan, an insurance plan. Your insurance plans, you're going to have a few different options. A typical one is a Medigap supplement plan. That could be like a Plan F, as in fancy full coverage. It could be a Plan G, as in great coverage, that still has a Part B deductible of $183. Or you could go into what a lot of people refer to as Part C, which is the all-in-one plan. Those are Medicare Advantage plans. Now, Medicare Advantage plans are kind of like you go to Disneyland, and instead of getting the Fast Pass where you can ride all the rides like you can with a fancy Plan F that's full coverage, instead you're getting a little bit more of a pay-as-you-go. This is the old school Disneyland days where you would just get a ticket for each ride that you wanted, and maybe like some of the rides you didn't really want to ride, so you didn't really get a ticket for it. That kind of idea, if that analogy helps. If it doesn't, let it go, don't worry about it. So a Medicare Advantage plan, also referred to as Part C, these are usually known as HMO or PPO plans. HMO is a fixed network, circle of doctors and specialists that you're going to in hospitals. A PPO is a preferred provider organization. That means it's more of a flexible network. The plan will work with out-of-network doctors. Now, which one is going to be the best one for you? Whoever is telling you it is the best, they're not really thinking about you with what is best truly for you, because you decide what is best for you. You decide what works for your budget and what works for the reality of how often you go to a doctor, whether or not you like to travel, and the reality of your bank account and your budget and what you can or cannot work with and what you're willing to pay. So think about that before letting someone else tell you what is the best plan and which Medicare insurance you should go to. There really isn't a wrong answer other than to go around without insurance and try to pay for it all on your own. That is where you're going to get into trouble. So for more questions and answers on Medicare and what it is and what it's not, tune in for the next episode.